G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today we're going to have another look at the MiG-21, and I'm finally starting to learn how to play this beast. And yeah, it is kind of a beast, but at the same time, it's very stressful to play. It's certainly not by any means a relaxing jet, much like the F-100 on release, and honestly, it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's not entirely great because you have to really focus and you have to really be wary of your surroundings. You can't just sort of go in, stay fast, and, pick up enemies as much as you want. You have to really be careful of literally everything in this plane. You have to be careful of your ammunition. You have to be careful of your speed. You have to be careful of even your altitude. Because in this plane, gaining separation from your enemies is actually quite important. If you're not fast, you're pretty much screwed. The term or the phrase, a slow jet is a dead jet, really rings true here with the MiG-21. Oh, wow, I'm saying MiG-19. Well, it's going to be a long week, and it's already starting to take a toll on me, so do bear with me. The MiG-21 at the moment is armed with two R3Ss, and as I understand it, doesn't really have the capability for the R13Ms on the MiG-19 PT, which is kind of interesting, because that means that, as I understand it, the next best thing that this thing could be given are either some form of later R13, like I think it's the R13R or the R13S or something like that. Do let me know in the comments below. But there is one that is like pretty cool. I think maybe possibly it could be added to the MiG-21, and the next step up would be a greater one like the R60. I don't even think the F-13 carried it. I don't know, but it'd be cool. It'd be crazy. It'd be too overpowered. But this thing has really bad missiles, and to some extent, that's to balance it. It's a good thing in a way, and in other ways, it's quite frustrating because, as you can see here, I'm gonna need every piece of ammunition I can get because a G91 has arrived on scene, an F4, an F5, and soon an F-100, I believe, and it's just going to get worse. I can't really do a whole lot against all of these guys by myself, and you can see that because I've rushed, I've pretty much separated myself from the team, which is a bit of a bad thing. What you need to do when you rush is team rush. If you and a squad all rush together, you can make quite a significant impact on the game, but if one person rushes, it kind of YOLO charges into the game, like Leroy Jenkins style, and it's not really always going to work unless you have one or two people sort of following up behind you. And no, I don't mean the enemies here. Everyone is absolutely lemming training onto me, and it is really frustrating. Thankfully, I'm spaded in this 21, and I can sort of get away from them. Plus, the MiG-21 has really good acceleration. And none of those planes are armed with better missiles. Having the worst missiles on every plane means that I have a little bit of leverage here. I don't have to turn as hard. I don't have to bleed as much speed. And I can keep going. I can lose the Shenyang Gang. I can lose the G91. And the MiG-19 will eventually pull off because he'll get bored. That'll leave me to deal with the F4C, which I can more than deal with if I play myself properly. This guy is going to prove kind of frustrating because he's sort of stuck on me all game, and I'm not even going to take the shot here unless I get really confident. And sure enough, I do, and I miss. I'm really bad with these guns, and that's not to say that they're bad guns, it's to say that they're extremely hard to learn. Just like the MiG-19 PTs were, but in this case, these guns are not even centrally mounted, or they don't even converge centrally, or it, rather, doesn't converge centrally. It is on the left-hand side of the fuselage. And that's really annoying, because it's really hard to aim. It's kind of like the Swift F7, which, honestly, I really don't feel like playing. But, to be honest, it's not the end of the world. Although, close your eyes because this never happened. It never happened. Shh. I'm perfect. I'm just too good at this game. Trust me. Oh man, that really really frustrates me. Having to get those really accurate shots, and only having limited ammunition. Because if I was in an F4 Phantom, I would have gotten that kill. But lo and behold, I don't get the kill because my life is potato. The MiG-21 is pretty good in a straight line, actually. It does 1300 on the deck, which just about sort of kind of beats the T2. It's very, very close. And I think this versus the T2 is actually a really good combination. It sort of combines the energy retention, or the lack of, rather, of the MiG-21 with the sort of kind of turn rate of the T2. In this case, the T2 is actually floatier. It has better lift, it seems. And the MiG-21 seems to have a better turn rate. And it's kind of strange. I like it. But at the same time, the T2 has extremely good acceleration, and the MiG-21 doesn't really. It really depends. And whilst the MiG-21 has pretty decent low-speed handling, the T2 doesn't. I think the dynamic between the T2 and the MiG-21 is really nice. It's cool. I love it. The only difference being that the T2 has way more forgiving guns and weapons in general. AIM-9Es, the Vulcan cannon, which of course has a delay, but it's got several hundred rounds of ammunition, and it's it's way more forgiving. So, what have I got here? I have a nice little Phantom sitting behind me. I'm going to spray because I know I want him dead. And I'm down to 2 rounds and a single missile. The range and the endurance of the MiG-21 is pathetic, to say the least. It's really bad. And that is one of the things that limits the MiG-21, and the J7, of course. In the past, the MiG-19 was also limited by this, but now, because of its performance, it seems like it's more than made up for it, which is kind of interesting, and at the same time, kind of sad for the MiG-21. The MiG-21, supposedly being the better jet, is kind of worse, to be honest. It's nowhere near as good, in my opinion, battle rating for battle rating, or, well, in this case, at top tier jets. It's just not the way that it works. And it's kind of frustrating to see that the jet that is supposed to be better actually isn't. And I don't really get it. I've heard that the MiG-19 has, an improper flight model, and it doesn't have enough drag. I've also heard that it's actually correct. I don't know what it is. I honestly am not well enough informed on the MiG-19 in real life. So I think I'm not going to have an opinion until I see some documentation. But as it currently stands, I'm just going to take it as it is. Right now, the MiG-19 is by far better than the MiG-21 because it is simply more forgiving and it has better endurance. They are the two sole factors that differentiate the MiG-19 and the MiG-21 that make the MiG-19 much better. Obviously, there are differences between them in terms of performance, but the two defining factors that make the MiG-19 much more superior are those two. And it's really, really difficult to get good games in the MiG-21. It's extremely difficult. Unless you're flying in a squad, or unless you're working closely with your teammates, it's really, really hard. Unless you get people that sort of fly into your guns or decide to turn fight with you and bleed all their energy, there's not really a whole lot that you can do because everyone else has more ammunition than you. Everyone else has more of everything than you, except top speed and initial turn, I suppose. Sure, you can fire off a few missiles, you can have your 60 rounds of ammunition, which is close to the MiG-19's, but you don't have the performance to make up for that lack of endurance like the MiG-19 now does. It's really, really frustrating flying the MiG-21. And unless you're a really good pilot, it is very, very challenging. It's so challenging, in fact, that this plane is almost a 10.0 level plane. I don't think it should stay at 10.0. I think it should be maybe 10.3 or 10.7 with the T2. And I think maybe the F4C should also be at that battle rating. And then maybe the MiG-19 moved up to 10.3 or 10.7, just because at the moment, as it stands, it's pretty powerful. If it were at its proper flight model, then that and the F-100 can stay at 10.0. As for the Hunter, maybe it can go up to 10.0, but I don't know. I don't really like the Hunter F6. The only thing that really makes it are the SRAMs. But as for the current jets that we have at top tier at rank 6, the Supersonics with afterburners, I think we have an interesting dynamic. It's funny because at the moment, it seems like the previous 10.0s are actually better than the current ones. The MiG-21 and the F-4 Phantom seem to be collectively worse than the MiG-19 and the F-100. That's not to say that the F-4C is a bad plane. I think it's a good plane. I think it's just hard to use, just like the MiG-21. And I think that Gaijin is going to adjust the battle ratings accordingly, and that's not going to be really good news for us. I really do hope they go up in battle rating, because I think they deserve it. I do also hope that we get, F4E or F4S and MiG-21 BIS, MiG-21M, something around that area. I'd really like to see a MiG-21 with a bit more endurance. And perhaps this MiG-21 can be, relegated to a support role, kind of like the F-100 has been right now. I really don't think the MiG-21F is really that suited to Air RB as well as, the F-100 or the MiG-19 or even the F-4. I think the MiG-21 is easily the hardest jet to play in the new update at top tier. I would wholeheartedly believe that this is the hardest jet to play. You have such limited endurance. It's almost like having a 163 at top tier. But instead of fuel and ammunition, it's ammunition and energy retention in a turn, which is arguably worse because, let's face it, energy retention and acceleration, in this case, seem to be more important than top speed. As for the MiG-21 in this battle, you can see that I am left with a teammate who is being run down by two F4s. Now, at first, I wasn't really paying attention, and I thought that that was it. I thought that was all that was left, and the other guy who had one death was just sort of flying around or had landed in a field. And I didn't realize, I didn't put two and two together to realize that there was a third enemy in the air. And so what I'm going to do is waste my ammunition because I don't have the proper information. I'm putting myself into a climb so as to not bleed as much energy as quickly. I'm not going to fire my guns. I'm going to go straight for the missile because I can see that this guy is pretty damn close. And if I can get the intercept, then I can possibly get a kill. But he pulls off at the last second, and the R4C what am I saying? I'm not an Ash main. I'm a War Thunder main. But, oh boy, it's late. The R3S seems to spark, which is a shame. Whatever. I'll take it as it is. I'll pretend that it missed. And so, what I need to do now is make sure that this guy doesn't get away. I thought he didn't have as much energy as he did. And then I see the rocket is launched. There's a Phantom behind me, and I didn't know that there was a third man joining the party. Dodge an AIM-9, easy clap. But now I have no more missiles, and I'm down to 60 rounds of ammunition, which is really bad news. It's awful news, and I'm turn fighting two Phantoms. This is even worse. I'm in a situation where I have no more advantages, because I didn't realize that there were three enemies left on the enemy team, two Phantoms and a G91YS. The G91YS is soon to join the fight. He was over by our airfield, and here comes the trifecta. I'm in a really bad situation here. I don't have the speed, I don't have the energy. The G91 is going to catch me if I keep turning, but I need to keep turning because this F4 will catch me. And the MiG-19, sure, maybe he doesn't have the ammunition, maybe he's a potato, but I can't really rely on him. And the G91 is about to join the fight, so I'm in deep trouble. I don't have the airspeed, and there are two Phantoms coming in, so if they take their time to boom and zoom me instead of going at the same time, I'll have to dodge one, and then I'll straighten out, and then I'll have to dodge the other one, and then I'll have to straighten out again, and the G91 can potentially finish me off. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to string them out. I'm trying to use my speed that I've potentially gained to try and get some separation at least from one of them, or at the very least, from the G91, because the G91 will outturn me, and it has phenomenal acceleration. I would say similar to the F4C spaded, and that's a lot. But the best bit about the G91 is it can turn. And on top of that, it has really well mounted DEFA cannons. And the DEFAs will shred me without a doubt. And the Vulcans, however, are mounted strangely. So I have a better chance of escaping the Vulcan than I do the DEFAs. So I need to make sure that I engage the Phantoms first so that they can't boom and zoom me. And eventually I can get myself the upper hand on the G91. Again, I potato the shots. It's starting to get tedious. It's starting to get frustrating. And lo and behold, the G91 has managed to catch up. I have to put myself into a turn and bleed more energy. The G91 is now pursuing my MiG-19 mate, and the F4 is diving on me. I am not in a good position at all, and the MiG-19 would have had the acceleration, but me and the MiG-21, I don't. And I'm sort of left up shit creek without a paddle, and I have an F4C running me down pretty quick. Not only that, but the G91 can also close in on me quite quickly, and he has an altitude advantage, so he can put the nose down, pick up some speed, and he tops out at 1140, whereas I top out at something like 1300, but I won't see that speed because I have an F4 behind me. And now I'm in a rolling scissors with an F4, which I know I can win, but I have a fat chance of the G91 not killing me. So I really need to make this kill count. I need to get it in, and I need to make sure that he goes down. I miss again, which is extremely frustrating now, and the G91 is following me down. He misses me, goes for the MiG-19, and now sort of decides to switch to me, fumbles around a bit, and I can see the F4 going in for a turn. I know this guy is going to be very slow because he's been turn fighting me and turn fighting the MiG-21. What am I saying? The MiG-19. He puts himself into a left-hand turn. I potato the shot, and finally, with the last few bullets, I managed to kill him. That's my 4th kill. I'm looking at an ace here. This is perhaps one of the rarest games I've played in the MiG-21, but the G91 is about to come in and I'm super low on speed. So I need to be super careful. I put myself into a vertical hoping that I can get him in this shot, and I miss. I'm out of ammunition now, and the MiG-19 can come in and perhaps kill him. But no, it doesn't happen. What I should have done here is I should have put the nose down towards the G91 who was turning away from me and got the hell out of there. But the G91, being an extremely well-turning aircraft, caught me by surprise and managed to set me on fire. Yes, he managed to set me on fire with his DEFA cannons, which are well mounted in the nose, which took me by surprise. The G91 is an extremely nimble aircraft, and that is something that I underestimated. He managed to tail control me, he managed to take out my engine and start a fire. And there I go, with 4 kills. A very disappointing end to what could have been a very exciting match. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.